Um, Hello, hello, and welcome. Thank you for being here. In one of my videos, I talked about how to repair relationships with estranged adult children, and I titled it "When Your Adult Child Disconnects from You and How to Reconcile." In that video, I talked about how to repair a broken relationship with an adult child. You may check it out. The title of that video is When Your Adult Child Disconnects from You and How to Reconcile. Do check it out. It's for parents who have issues with their adult children, who have decided to, disconnect with them, either temporarily or permanently. So do find time to look at that video. Now, this particular video, I'm going to talk about our relationships with our children and some habits that we probably formed over the years, as parents in the course of raising our children and caring for them, as young children. And many of us tend to carry over, these habits in relating with our adult children. And these habits actually are capable of causing strains in the relationship we have with our children, and we need to drop them. So I want to look at 10 of these habits, and I'm going to ask them in form of a question. That's questions for each of the 10 habits that we probably have carried over the years in raising our young children. My name is Dr. Dorothy Ese, and this channel is Retirees Nigeria, where we talk about health, well-being, and the finances of our elders or the elder citizens in our environment. So if you're an elder, even if you are not an elder, one day you're going to become an elder. So everyone is welcome to this channel. Okay, so back to the topic of today, the 10 habits that could push your children away from you. Parenting children, especially adult children, is not an easy task. One major reason being that they are independent and have minds of their own now. Excuse me, unlike when they were younger, when they looked up to us for advice and direction. But we parents never seem to see that our children are adults, and we need to be, withdraw a little in being protective. We still see them as little kids. I mean, we have been in charge of their lives for as long as they live. So we do not seem to realize that they are grown up now, even when they are married with kids. Yes, some parents are still overprotective of their married children. So I must say this, most children love their parents and do not want to be disrespectful, or to hurt them in any way. But there are times they get fed up with the parents loving wahala, so they develop ways of coping. And then the coping mechanisms of the children include giving you, the parents, their cell phone number. That's the number that they hardly use. They have 2 numbers. They give you the ones that they hardly use, that they can switch off at any time, and they'll still be in contact, with people that they need to call. Why? Because sometimes they just get tired of the nagging and all the calls. And what you want to discuss sometimes may not be so important, but as a parent, you know how parents think. Sometimes, and that's one mechanism, giving you a wrong number. Another way they cope is if the parents are on social media, so that you don't bother them with what they post or whatever, they just block you nicely and quietly. Another way they cope is not to stay too long with you when they come to visit. That is, if they're already living on their own, they just come visit you, quickly, and they are off. They're always in a hurry to leave. Sometimes they are reluctant to take calls from you because they know the pattern of your discussion. Your conversation is always around a certain thing that you want them to do that they are yet to do. even though they have given you the assurance that they will do it. But as a parent, you are anxious for them. It's for their good, but you need to chill, because it exhausts them, and so they want to stay away from you. And I'm sure as a parent, you don't like that. Or sometimes when you want to come and visit, they tell you to please inform them first, because they know that when you come, this your loving wahala don't start. So they want you to inform them so that they will prepare their minds and be ready for your nagging. Sorry for that word. Sometimes when you ask to them to come and see you, they tell you that they're out of town, or they have plenty of work in the office and they get home late, that they will come and see you. And it takes them a while to come when they are mentally prepared to take in all the talk, because most times as you are talking, they are quiet and listening to you respectfully. If you can relate with any of these, then maybe some adjustment needs to be made, on your part. That's in terms of what you want from them, that is your expectations of them, or your demand from them. You need to adjust it. So this is just in case you are putting on a behavior that is putting them off or pushing them away, even though they love you. So these tips I'm going to give now will jog your memory. If you can relate with any of them, then you need to, chill a bit. So here are some of the habits that we parents exhibit that may cause our children to keep their distance. Yes, and I put together about 10 of them that, I've put in form of a question. So if I will ask it and then we'll just talk about it. 10 questions that I have that may be pushing your children, away from you without your knowing. Now, the first one is this: are you unknowingly transferring your anxiety to your children? Are you unknowingly transferring your anxiety to your children? Even though you may not have any bad intention, but because you are anxious for the safety and well-being of your child, you want him to be extra careful, especially if he lives far away. And you constantly remind him or her of how dangerous and how unsafe life is. So during your call, you relay every, bad news that you hear about. For example, how a man or a woman was kidnapped somewhere, how an accident happened somewhere to a young boy who probably was driving recklessly, or how somebody died, a young man died in his sleep, and so on and so on and so on. Do you do that? Such that every fearful incident that you hear about or read about or experience, you tend to relay it to your child. Without being intentional, you actually transfer your anxiety in the process. You are offloading your fears on your child, and it can be tiring. If you are fond of doing this, each time there's a call from you, the thought that it is another story of woe that you want to pass across to your child, they become wary, of taking your call. You need to relax. Don't worry too much, actually. Tell yourself that your children are okay and that they are fine. Learn to be positive and pray for them instead. They are adults. They may not be as naive as you think. So worry less. And besides, your anxiety won't change anything. So that's the first one. And the second one is that, are you being too controlling? Maybe you don't support certain aspects of your children's choices, or you are not satisfied with how they run their own lives or family, if they have one, knowing that their generation is different and they tend to see things differently. You need to slow down. You and your child need not agree on everything. So give your advice where there is a need for it, and then leave it at that. You should not force your opinion on them when they are already adults. The number 3 question I'm going to ask: do you invade your child's lives? Your child's life, do you invade your child's life? For instance, if your child is yet to marry, do you constantly remind him or her of that fact. And she may even be more anxious than you are. But when the right person has not come, you are there rubbing it in all the time, like it's a never-ending reminder. Every time he or she comes, to visit you, to spend time with you, this is what you talk about also. Like your friend's daughter just got married, or how your neighbor's daughter gave birth to twins and came home for baby dedication, or how your neighbor's daughter just landed a good job in Abuja, or how John just, bought a car for his father, and how he's planning to build another house, a new house beside the father's old one. In fact, you seem to collect and relay the story of every childhood friend in your neighborhood, that are doing well. Mommy, daddy, slow down. Chill, please. Do you think your child doesn't see or know these things? Or you think he doesn't want to live a better life? When your child feels emotionally depleted after spending time with you, don't be surprised when they start to avoid coming home. The excuse of having plenty of work in the office that is taking their time, or they are closing late, will start to become more frequent just to avoid coming home. He will not avoid coming home after getting better jobs, or after getting married, or having kids, or buying cars. But when he's yet to attain that which you expect of him, then he starts to avoid you. Honestly, most people take this route of avoiding you. That is, they distance themselves from the source of their distress. And in this case, that is the parents. They don't want to quarrel with you or say hurtful words, to their parents out of love and respect that they have. So what they do is just stay away. If that doesn't help, they cut off completely. And then the parents start to complain that the children no longer visit. The number 4 question I want to ask about this is, are you intruding too much on the life of your child? That is, are you taking the way your child lives his life very personal, such that you overreact in his matter uninvited? For example, if your married child, that's your daughter or son, has a marital problem and you get to know about it, how do you react? Do you uninvited put on your armor and go to war with your child's spouse, even if the spouse is wrong? Were you invited to come to war? And even if you were invited, should you take the path of war? Yes, it is understandable that whatever affects your child affects you, and you are doing that out of love. But should you? Try to remind yourself always that your child is an adult and no longer in kindergarten, where, if you do that, it is understandable because you are protecting your child. Let your children be. Let that your married child be. When you are handling matter concerning your child, and the spouse, you are a third party. Be neutral when you are handling it. If there is no form of abuse involved, unless there is abuse involved, either emotional abuse or physical abuse, if there is no such thing, of course there will be disagreements between two adults. They must quarrel, they must disagree. You allow them to handle their matter. And if you are invited, be neutral. Be the more matured person between the three of you now. Else, your child's spouse will resent you for taking sides with your son and be very harsh towards him or her. And, in future, you may not be welcome into the home. Your child may not even be comfortable with the way you interfere in their lives, surprisingly. And so instead of coming to you for advice, subsequently, they will keep mute. They will keep you in the dark when they have issues because they don't like the way you handle conflict. So you may end up being the outsider. You remember what they say about resolution of issues between couples? They say husband and wife matter. Now corner of mouth, then they take judge am. Otherwise, dem fit take you settle. I'm sure you've heard that. Your child case is not any different. Don't make yourself the enemy. Number 5, do you respect your child's boundary? Our children have their identities, and they will make mistake. But is this mistake that will help them to learn and to grow? So don't be overprotective. Are you always on the phone wanting to know where your child is and what they are onto? Do you offer advice that is unsolicited? Why? Because you don't want them to experience what you experienced. Please let your child be. Allow your other child to make his or her own mistakes and learn from them. Your children need your prayers, of course. Give it without having to call all the time to know, their plan for the day, or giving advice that is unsolicited. And also learn to share your wisdom and insight with your children without being critical. So let us honor the boundaries that our children have set with regards to, our relationship, and let's not push it. Let's continue to pray. That's the path to go without interfering in their lives. Number 6, do you choose, who they relate or make friends with? You know how parents are now. Are you the type of parent that when you see your adult child with a new friend and you immediately make up your mind, that you don't like that friend? How do you react? Are you one of those who will tell your child to break ties immediately? And when you are asked why, you just say, my spirit not agree with them. Parents, now what for also. And so every time you see your child with that friend that your spirit does not agree with, you show your displeasure right away, right there, right then, even in the presence of the child. Let's be reserved as parents. If you do not feel comfortable with the company that your child is keeping, wait till you can speak with your child alone, and then express your reservation and back it up with good reasons. At the same time, try not to be too judgmental of your children's choice of friends. Give your advice and let it be. Number 7, are you still holding that whip that you used to hold when your children were small, and not relaxing your roles? As we know, every home has its rule that the children are supposed to adhere to, or they get disciplined. Now, your adult child who lives on his own comes home to visit and then to pass the night, and you still want to, apply those rules as if he or she is still a teenager, who lives in your home under your care. Your child is now an independent person living on his own. Don't make the short stay with you, an unhappy one. Or when you go to visit your child, you want to apply the rule that you used to apply in your house, in your child's home. That is a no-no. Number 8, are you in the habit of putting down your child? That's your adult child. Not just adult child, your child. Are you in the habit of putting down your adult child, especially in public? Children want to be accepted and validated by their parents, and so they look up to them for this. There are times when you may not approve of the choice that your child has made. At such times, try to lay aside your opinion and meet them where they are. They will love you for this, and they will respect you the more. Number 9, do you hand down orders instead of having conversations with your child so that they see reason with you? You still do that even at their adult age? Most of us were brought up not to talk back at our parents, or any elder for that matter, And as a young child, you get whipped for breaking the rule. Should we parents still be asking our adult child questions like, are you talking back at me? Or how dare you talk back at your mom like that? No, I don't think so. We shouldn't. Do let them talk. It is better than bottling up their opinion, frustration, or anger. Just remind them to do it respectfully. This way, if they are not happy with you, you will be aware. Instead of you complain that you don't know what you have done to your child and your child is no longer responding to your call or talking to you. Because if you give them the freedom to express, their opinion or their frustration, you both will sit down and have conversations instead of one bearing grudges against the other. And when the frustration gets too much on the side of your child, he or she keeps a distance to avoid wahala. And then number 10, do you make room for your child's spouse? When your child is married, you need to treat the spouse as you would treat your own child. Remember this, your child is watching you. If he or she notices that you do not like his or her spouse, you might see him less or her less to avoid conflict with any member of his new family. So learn to love your child's partner that he chose to spend his life with. Understand that this person, that your child has chosen meets a need for his or her life, and avoid being confrontational. Accept your child's spouse completely. Learn to. If you are in doubt about how to relate with your adult child in any area, ask yourself this question: how will I handle this matter if this my daughter or son were to be my friend? How you relate with your friends, you should start relating with your child when they become adults. I'm sure you will allow your friend to speak if you have something to say with your friend. You would like to have a conversation with your friend. If you are not satisfied with what your friend is doing, you are not going to scream. You are not going to harm down others. Look at your adult child as your friend. Because you respect your friends and you speak and treat them with respect. Do the same with your adult children. They should be your friends too. So this is it for this video. If you like the content of this channel, please like and subscribe. I remain Dr. Dorothy Ese. Thank you for watching. Bye.